All right, so I'll talk about light probes here. Let me get a share screen going. So um, with, maximize this. So with Node GI, here we are in a scene with Node GI. I have illuminated emissive textures on the walls that are casting the light into the scene. There actually are no lights in this scene, just the illuminated or the emissive textures. And uh, uh, the the light from these things is not illuminating things. The illuminated surfaces are bright. If I go to the, with probes, uh, well, this is now GI, but there are no probes, and so we're getting some uh, uh, bleed into the floor here. We're getting some bleed into the floor here. You can see red on the floor there, and you can see blue on the floor here, and yellow on the floor over here. But this little sphere that I'm carrying around in front of me, because it's not light map static, it's not contribute GI, it is not illuminated. Now, if I add probes to the scene, so I'll press the 2 button, and now we have probes. And with the gizmos on, um, with the gizmos on, uh, I can actually see the positions of these light probes. So these are the different light probes that I've put in the world. And now, of course, my little sphere that I'm carrying around is picking up information uh, from those probes. Let me click out of this for a second, and I'll select the little sphere that I'm carrying around. And when I do that, and I have gizmos on here, and I go back into the scene, I can now see the probes that it's getting its light from. And the probes are three-dimensional or objects in three-dimensional space. And what it does is it finds the nearest four of whatever there are out there, the nearest four, and it interpolates among them. And the little gizmo there is actually showing which one is closest. And the probes themselves are showing the light that has been sampled during the baking process. Uh, and so this sphere that I'm carrying is going to be picking up the color similar to the probes. And as I move around here, the probes take on more of a purple over here near the blue and red wall, and my ball takes on that purplish color too. Um, the same sort of thing works if we do this with baked lighting. Uh, with baked lighting here, number 3 is baked lighting with enlightened. Number 4 is baked lighting with progressive. Uh, and it works exactly the same way. These are baked, they're no longer real time able to uh, change as the lights would change, but the behavior of this is all exactly the same. It's picking up the light information is stored in these probes at the bake time, and we're interpolating among the 4 nearest ones through this cube. Now, there's one other I want to show you, which is the proxy volume. And with the proxy volume, um, I have this big cube on the floor, and it's picking up its light information from the 4 light probes that are nearest to its center. If I can stop this for a second and select this uh, uh, blend probe object. You can see there, those are the two, and then there are two down below it that it's getting its light from. So while over here we're closer to the green screen, and over here we're closer to the red screen, all we're picking up for lighting for this whole object is the light from these four probes that are kind of at the center of the scene. So they're an average of the four. And so our object looks sort of gray. Now, if I go over here and I toggle, this is going to change from an object that gets its information from the probes to an object that gets its information from my proxy volume. And immediately we can see a very different behavior here. This is with the blend probes that are just getting the information in the center. This is the proxy volume that is getting the information from the volume that our object occupies. And if I go back over here and look at the proxy volume, this is the object that is illuminated by this proxy. And what it does is it establishes its own grid. It's a two-dimensional grid of light map objects that get their information during the baking. And so they have more geographically local information about what the color should be. And so now, when we're over here near the blue side, our proxy volume probes, which don't really stay visible that well, are kind of bluish. Whereas if I go over here, now they're kind of reddish, and that side of the big object is red. So when you're making big objects, remember that with blend probes, it'll just pick up the light at the center of that big object. And if you want it to be progressively lit across the surface so that it looks different depending how close it is to the different baked lights, you want to use a proxy volume. And proxy volumes are easy enough to set up. You can specify the resolution, how many probes per unit you want. This is one probe per unit, so they're a meter apart, and this is all very easy. So that's the use of light probes. So I'm going to stop the sharing, and I'm going to stop recording, and I'll see you all in class. Bye.